Get the fuck out! What's that?
Because we got it on camera and I've got no problem. Then please go away!
Seriously, yesterday was messed up. So, yesterday I decided to attend a protest. Well, a counter-protest. I was on the counter-protesty side. For, like, the anti-maskers. Now, if you don't know what that is, basically, you're conspiracist. You know, the people who think crazy shit. Anyways, I was so really appalled at so many things that I saw, but let's just first get into the organizer of these events throughout the Okanagan, mostly in Kelowna. Now, this guy is called David Lindsay, and basically, if he had a better web presence and a more prominent web presence, I would call him Canadian Alex Jones. But he called himself yesterday the next Martin Luther King during Black History Month. And this is going to sound appalling once I actually start describing this guy, because I thought the gay frog water was bad. I want gay frog water. God damn it, Alex Jones. At least you were funny. So, this guy has basically tied up the court system to the point where he is no longer allowed to start a lawsuit without the permission of a judge. In 7 provinces, he has been in court over 300 times. This fellow also sells bogus, I'm just going to call them bogus seminars, because he's basically trying to tell you how to avoid paying your taxes, child support, and traffic violation tickets. The thing that really gets me is child support. Like, I totally get some women are terrible at the whole child support. But, you know, if you're going to partake in sex, you know, and things happen, and that's the way it goes. I'm sorry. I do believe the father should be, you know, at least a little bit responsible. But this guy is pretty much a white nationalist, in my opinion. Like, this guy has protested outside of schools about the anti-masking. Outside of businesses, he protested outside our local mall, which was just crazy. I finally decided to attend a counter-protest with my friends. And he also has been known for rubbing elbows with a guy who is opposed to non-white immigration in Canada, which I think is so wrong. And this fellow is called Paul Fromm. Described as a neo-Nazi by friends of the Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies. So, and while I was witnessing the protests and the people driving by, there are people doing that weird OK symbol that's supposed to be the white nationalist symbol. And I'm like, this is Canada, man. I mean, we sent armies in World War II to help the Jews during the Holocaust. Like, does anybody remember the Holocaust? Apparently not. In my opinion, he's the next Hitler. Yeah, I said it. I'm German. I can say it. But yeah, no, it's really terrifying. And then the fact that he's basically a white supremacist, but then he calls himself the next Dr. King during Black History Month. I could be crazy here, but I think that has gotta be some of the worst shit ever. Especially also them playing Bob Marley. And these are the people who are the conservatives. Because they were also flagging the Canadian Conservative flag too. The political party. And they're the ones who hate cannabis. Bob Marley smoked cannabis. Bob Marley also wouldn't deal with this shit either, with the whole, white supremacy. And then they're talking about how Canada is a Christian nation. It's like, seriously? We are a melting pot of a nation. Anything. I don't even... Like, I'm an atheist, so in a way, it's like, okay, so I shouldn't be even allowed in my country? The country I was born in? Hi, Yuri. It drove me nuts, because I also was, holding up a sign that said science. And a person was, interviewing me, and they're like, what's if you and your science sign? And I'm like, we put a man in space because of science. If it wasn't for science, Yuri Gagarin would never have gotten into space, and which would have never have led the way for the first female in space, Valentina Blankety Blank. I can't remember the rest of her name. Which then led to, the moon landing after Sputnik and all the rest of the shit. And I'm also yelling, you have no idea how privileged you guys are living in Canada. And they're protesting about masks and anti-vaccine, of course. Throw in any conspiracy theory. I think one sign even said 5G was causing it, so... And... This isn't the first time we humans have tried to, pass up an epidemic of something against a conspiracy theory. The Black Plague, the Jews did it. The 1918 pandemic, apparently Bayer spiked the medication they had, the aspirin they had with the Spanish flu. And it was just I honestly think the most disheartening bit, and I would have actually loved to have showed you my camera footage, except I'm actually someone who wants to protect the children, unlike the parents who brought their children into a protest that was already getting heated by people, no masks, and then to drive their point home, they put children, young children, on the stage. I don't even think that was the worst, but I'm going to get to that bit in a moment. They put young children on the stage to give speeches. These children were definitely less than 10 years old. They had to be less than 8. And children that young cannot make a rational, conscious, logical choice. That doesn't come in until around 12 years old, 14. And I'll pop some, facts up. See? And the kids are like, the sunshine will help us. if anyone's actually heard the arguments from Plandemic, that was what the kids were basically saying. And it was a little crazy. Oh, the virus, and it will internalize our internal virus, and it's like, that's not how science and viruses work, lady. This is the part, as a parent, that drives me absolutely insane. They lined up their children, basically, across the counter protesters with their signs, right? You know, I miss play dates, you know, COVID isn't real because I can't see smiles and stuff like that. And one thing, I wanted to punch this guy in the face, honestly. I really wanted to. Because he's telling the little girl holding one sign and pointing at us saying, we're the ones spreading hate speech. When I'm here yelling, why are you standing behind your children? Your own children. You're supposed to be parents protecting your children. And emotional abuse of the children. That's what I was yelling. I was so pissed. Because I'm like, this is indoctrination when they're too young. Like, this is why I don't believe in bringing kids up, like, in a religious household. No offense to people who do. Some of you guys have brought up some awesome kids. Don't get me wrong, but this is the thing, is I don't want to indoctrinate. I want my kid to be able to make the rational, conscious decisions when they're old enough. My parents didn't yell at me when I decided to be an atheist. They are Catholic. Okay? They're like, we still love you. Get off the drugs. Like, I just smoke pot. Still. It was just crazy. And then there's like this guy called the Red Pill Rapper, and like, I swear his girlfriend was somebody who I went to school with, and she dropped out at like grade 10 and really flunked science badly. I could be wrong. She does look like your typical Kelowna skank. I'm sorry. I really should not be throwing ad hominems. If you're watching this, you need purple shampoo and Olaplex. Your hair is fried. Sorry, that's my last bit. But man, this guy called the Red Pill Rapper, you're not going to be able to find him on SoundCloud. At least not this guy. Because he got kicked off of SoundCloud for Nazi lyrics. Neo-Nazi lyrics for a song. And it's not like it was a big deal anyways. He only had like 6 followers on SoundCloud. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, these guys have no idea what SEO is. Like, they have like no actual idea of how to run a web presence. And you would think someone trying to, you know, be online would actually be able to understand what a freaking web presence is. I mean, freaking Kimberlea could do it better. Sorry, Kimber, I really didn't mean to drag you into this. But still, you guys, like, I'm like trying to Google these people. I'm like, seriously? This is SEO is like terrible. Like, who's behind this? And don't get me wrong, I then started to heckle the audio engineers. Who is your audio engineer? You're in an outdoor public space. The audio engineering is terrible. And I'm like, this is why I don't go to protests, because I kind of get aggressive. I get a lot of emotions out. And the other side is pretty much the same way as me, and you can't rationalize. I'll be honest. But the one thing I couldn't believe was the amount of Dunning-Kruger effect I saw in this day. And a bunch of white people on the other side. Like, I actually got into a fight with a guy when I said to my best friend, is it just me or is it just a bunch of white privilege? And the guy's like, oh, white privilege? Oh, what do you mean by that? What do you think by that? And I'm like, well, by observation, it looks like a bunch of white people who are a bit pissed off that they can't go, you know, down stateside and, you know, have to wear a goddamn mask. And at least my best friend Steph and I, and her boyfriend, we use our white privilege for, like, the good of humanity. I can acknowledge I have white privilege. And what I want to be able to do with my white privilege is be a voice for the minorities that cannot be heard. That is, like, my big thing. It's like, you know, people getting hurt by MLMs. I want to be that voice for the people who have been silenced. Standing up for Indigenous rights. Again, I'm somebody who's like, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong. No. You know, that's the kind of person I've got fire in me. And that's just it. I've got the fire. I want to change the world. And I know I need to use my whatever privileges I have for good. Oh, and then they're like, who's paying for you guys? Who are you paying for? My God. I would kill to be a paid protester. Honestly, I would love to be an astroturfing protester. I'm not. And I probably, morality-wise, couldn't be. But, dude, I would love to have been paid for the hour and a half I froze my tits off while almost losing my Starbucks. There's my rant. I'm going to get probably into a more detailed video about the whole thing and read some news articles, but I just had to go off on a bloody rant. But I did it with my fact points, and I will leave the news articles down below so you guys can read my fact points. At least the sources I found them at. Anyways, it's Jen from Kopnitsa Homestead. Follow, like, subscribe, watch me bitch about other stuff. I love you guys. Peace out.